And we are live. Good evening. Well, we're live, so it's evening now, right? Hey, family, how are you doing? Carrie Ann Stimson here, JMMB Group, Jamaica. Welcome to another episode of JMMB Goal Getter Live. We are still here doing our thing. It's more than a year later since COVID-19 made its unfortunate entrance to Jamaica, but JMMB remains committed to supporting everyone in achieving their financial goals just the same. So we're very, very excited to be here for another episode. Of course, we're streaming live now. It's a Tuesday, but we are also available on a recording because guess what? We're recording this live. So if you're catching us on the live or on the replay, we're happy to have you. Again, I'm Carrie Ann, and I'm here to kind of just take you through, as usual, through another awesome conversation. And you know how we like to do it. I like to invite everybody who's watching us, whether you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube. Again, whether you're catching us live or on the replay, drop your name in the comments. Say hello. Tell us where you're watching us from. Hey, Dwayne, what's going on? Michelle, how you doing? Welcome. Good night. Good night. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Shanique. I'm good. How are you? Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Yes, please drop your name in the comments because guess what? We're talking about a topic tonight that probably will mash a few people cons, but guess what now? You know how I like to say how Goal Getter Live, how we do it, right? We keep it all the way real and we break it all the way down, okay? Nothing is off limits where financial conversations are concerned for us because, again, it's about how are we empowering each other to achieve our goals. And today, we're talking about debt. No, first of all, people, I see everybody jumping in. Hey, Damien, how you doing? Jermaine, what's happening? Hey, Dion. Oliver, what's happening? Hey, Jackie. Hey, Irene. So, guys, yes. So, here what now? No shame in this topic tonight, because guess what? Debt is not a bad thing. We need debt sometimes to do what we need to do, right? So there's no shame in this topic. So if you're in debt or you're gonna go in debt because you're gonna buy some nice asset, some of us gonna be homeowners. We want to be homeowners someday. We're claiming it. Some of us need to take out a loan maybe to buy a car or something like that. Debt is a part of life. The thing is, though, we have to do it real smart, right, guys? We're not about putting ourselves in debt till we're drowning and can't breathe, okay? Because we still want to achieve them financial goals. So, guys, this is a topic. So, if you're in debt, even if the debt not high, it don't matter, or you're going to go in debt because you want to buy some asset or some other thing, join us. And remember, call, text, WhatsApp, tag, DM, tell everybody that you know to come into this conversation because we're going to be dropping some nuggets tonight. And if you know who our guest is, you know that she got the goods. And I just want to say hi to everybody. Yes. Hey, Orville. What's happening? Yeah, man. See all my homeowners in the comments. Them people, them dropping it in the comments, keeping it real. Hey, Patrice, how you doing? Welcome. Irene, hear what? I'm probably mispronouncing your names, right, guys? I'm so sorry. I know you still love me, and I still love you, so forgive me. What's happening? Yes, hey, Jerome, what's happening? I said hi to Dion, Jackie. Yes, Mark. Yes, this topic is major, okay? We're just keeping the thing real all night tonight. We're keeping it frank. As I say, there's no shame. Okay, all of us in here is in some kind of debt at some point, maybe not now, maybe in the past, maybe in the future. We're keeping it real because guess what? We want to go where we want to go, right? And we just need to know the how to do it smartly. As you know, JMMB, we do loans. Okay, so going into debt, taking out a loan is a thing. So how we do it smartly is what we want to talk about. Hey, Sophia. Hi. Hey, Siobhan. Hey, Dion. Hey, Dre. Yes, Dre's in the house. Okay, well, let me bring up my guest real quick. Right. She probably needs no introduction. Hey, Michelle
Hi,
Sinclair-Doyley.
Gary. Hi, everybody out there. Man, to know that so many people are online already, it means that you're serious about your finances. And so this is a place to be. I'm happy to be with this wonderful group of people. Ready to get
Yep.
started. Yep.
You see how Michelle is a firecracker. She's a powerhouse. She's an energy goddess. I mean, Michelle, and she has a beautiful singing voice, by the way, guys. Maybe one day we can convince her to give us some of that sweet singing voice one of these lives. But Michelle is really passionate about what she does. And you know how I like to do it, guys. I don't like to tell people title because I will get it wrong. And Michelle probably is another JMMB team member with a long title. So I'm going to mispronounce and forget some of the words. So Michelle, could you share with us what's your title and what do you do at JMMB?
All right. So my title is Manager Group Financial Partnership Support and Financial
Manager.
Education. Long.
No, man, you have to say that again. Say that again.
Manager Group Financial Partnership Support and Financial Education. So, guys, it's a long title for a very, very beanie woman. If you ever see me, I'm only 5 feet tall, right? But what I really do, right? So the title is not important to you. What I do is I help the frontline team members to have the most effective conversations with you so that you can achieve your goals. So that's the financial partnership support part. And then the financial education part is the part where I teach you about money. Money is so exciting. And I try to bring that kind of life to it.
It is exciting. And guys, Michelle knows her stuff. Okay. I'm not because she's my team member and she work at JMMB and I work at JMMB. Michelle really knows her stuff. And not only that, as you can tell, she's very passionate about what she does. And a key part of what she does is teaching people how to be better at managing their money and achieving their financial goals. So we got one of the JMMB gurus in here tonight who again is going to break it all the way down. So we love all the people coming in on the live. Yes, Ryan. Yes, a long title. We know. But as she says, one of her things is that she teaches people financial education, teaches people how to be better at managing their money. So yes, Mark G, Michelle is a star. We agree with that. And hey,
Thanks, Mark.
Kevon and Davia, love it. Orenthia, I love your name every time I get the chance to just say Orenthia. Welcome. And Michelle, hey Michelle, Alan, see I have your namesake on tonight. Siobhan, what's happening? Yeah, man, Shanique, we're ready. All right. So, guys, you know the drill, right? This is your live. JMMB hosting it, but it's your live. So the usual format is we're going to spend the first 20 minutes with Michelle to just ask a few questions, some basic level setting questions about debt. What is debt? There is a difference between good debt and bad debt, and not bad debt in terms of the traditional meaning of the term, and we'll get into that. But we're going to just break it all the way down and start with some nice level setting questions around this topic. And that's going to take about 20, maybe 30 minutes max. And then, guys, you know the drill. We open up the floor to you guys. So drop your questions about debt and how to manage debt right in the comments, whether you're watching us from Facebook or YouTube. Drop the questions there. We'll make a note and we'll get to as many questions on this topic as possible. Because again, guys, it's your conversation, right? And not many of us have the opportunity to sit down with an expert financial educator every day just like that. So we're making it right available for you guys, our valued viewers who join us right here on Goal Getter Live to get your questions answered. I love it. Yeah, man. See people dropping things already in the comments. All right. Okay. So, Michelle, let's jump right into it. First question, right? We've heard, is there such a thing as good debt? And what is good debt exactly?
Yes, absolutely. There is good debt and there is bad debt, but I really don't like to call it that.
All
So
right.
how I like to look at it is putting things in perspective. And so good debt is debt that makes me money. So that's triple M, makes me money. That's good debt. Or it saves me money, right? Makes me money or saves me money. So debt that makes you money, of course, will make you richer. And the key is that you're going to be borrowing other people's money and other people are going to be paying back the loan. Soon come more to that, right?
Yes, because
All right.
I have a question after that. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then saves me money. So that is the debt that is going to help you to keep more money in your pocket because you would have actually done the calculations and you realize that although you're borrowing other people's money and you're the person paying back the loan, you're taking money from someone that you would have been paying it out to, right? You'd have been paying out a particular expense to that person. And instead, you would take a loan and be paying less money than what you'd have been paying out to that person. So that would be good debt. Makes me money, MMM, or saves me money. And then what everybody else calls bad debt, right? I would look at it from this perspective. Takes my money and it therefore makes me poorer. And yes, and that is where we're borrowing other people's money, but we're the ones paying it back.
Oh.
And then, Carrie, I'd break it down into two categories. That if it's taking my money, it's probably because I'm probably having poor planning. Or I bought something because it made me feel, oh, so good. So it's not the best choice, but because it made me feel, oh, so good, I bought it. So
Oh,
that's
dear.
how I break them down.
Michelle, why you mashing my corn so early in the live, miss?
You know what happened? I'm mashing everybody's card, including my card, because I think that we have all purchased something that made us feel wonderful in the moment, or probably we still feel wonderful about it. It's just that was probably not the best purchase using a loan. Or for some persons, it was something that you could have afforded. But the main point of it is that you are the person paying the loan, not somebody else paying the loan for you. Or it's not that it is saving you any money, right? By allowing you to claw back money that you would have been spending on someone else. And instead, you'll be putting it to the loan. Game carry.
Okay, all right. So here what, Michelle, let us break it down now because you went right for the jugular. All right. And guys, I welcome in everybody. Hey, Kale, Ingrid, Kamika, Richardo, what's happening? Welcome everybody. Now, just so we said, there's a difference between good debt and bad debt, which you don't really like the term, but we're going to use it for the purpose of this discussion just to create that difference. And the good debt you're saying, well, both debts is when you're borrowing money from someone like a financial institution, right?
Right.
However, in the case of good debt, you're borrowing it to do something and someone else is paying back that debt for you, not you. Whereas bad debt, one, and then bad debt is when you are paying back that loan to the bank, right? Now, give me an example of that good debt then. In what instance would I be borrowing money from, say, a bank like JMMB and someone else is paying back the loan, which constitutes good debt?
All right.
Give me an example.
For example, a business loan. Let us say you take out a business loan at, I'm just going to pick a figure, right? Let's say you take out a business loan at 10% and you invest in the business and the business is now earning 50% for you. You could not have earned that money if you had not taken out the loan. So 50% is what you're earning. You take away the 10 from the 50, you're ending up with 40. You could never have gotten that 40 without paying that 10. But the key to it is, who is the person that is spending the money in the business? I wonder if anybody in the chat can put it in. Somebody drop in the chat. Who is actually paying back that business loan? Let's see what our viewers are saying. Who is actually paying back that loan?
So you borrow the money, the loan from the bank at 10% to put in your business.
Yes.
And because of that additional money put into the business is now paying it back, or is now growing at 50%. And so now we're paying back the loan to the bank. So we have some answers here. Customers. Whoa!
That's it.
What is it?
right? So the business would have already done some forecasting to see how much business would have come in from the customers to allow them to pay this loan. So the customers are the ones paying the loan. So the business take out the money, use other people's money, and then the customers pay it back. Perfect.
So why you say the customers pay it back? Because some people are saying that it's the business paying back the loan as opposed to the owner of the business, which is you. Why you say it's the customers that pay it back?
Because no business would take out a loan unless they would have calculated that they would have earned sufficient money coming in from their customers to pay back
Sales.
the loan. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So another one would be rental property. So you may have taken out a mortgage for that rental property. Now there is a tenant in the property. Who's paying the mortgage? The tenant. So in that case, it can make you richer because somebody else is paying this loan. And that is one of the things that rich people do, and that is how they keep on getting richer because somebody else is paying the loans.
Wow. Wow. Wanna hear that? Because a lot of people say the business, which technically I guess is true-ish in the sense that it's the revenue or the income from the business that's paying back that loan, but it's technically the money is coming from the sales that you make to the customers. So it's the money from the customers' pockets that's going into the business to generate revenue, and you're using the proceeds from those sales to pay off your loan. And then if you have a house or townhouse, apartment, whatever, and it has a mortgage on it, if you have a tenant on it and the rent that you charge is at least equal to, I guess, the mortgage that you owe on that property, then it's really the tenant that's paying back that mortgage, not you. You don't have to take any money out of your own pocket to pay that mortgage.
Exactly.
Okay, then. And those are examples of good debt. So basically, any debt where you don't have to go into your pocket to take out money to pay it back is good debt. Done.
So that's a good debt that makes me money. So now we're
That
going
makes
to
me
go
money.
into a good debt that saves me money.
All right.
So this is the one that allows me to keep more. So let us look at an example of a car, for example. And you've added up how much you spend on taxes or buses, and let's say it's 1.2 million because some people have to go all over the place, have to drop off the children, etc. And when you calculate the cost of a vehicle, inclusive of the car loan payment every month, insurance, tires, everything, it would cost you $1 million. So the other case was costing you 1.2, and now this would cost you $1 million. Then you would be paying the loan, but you would have been saving more money than if you continue doing what you were doing before. So in that case, it makes sense to take the loan. So who is paying? Yes, you are the one paying the loan, but where is the money coming from? Where are you getting the money from? You'd have been getting the money from the taxi man that you used to be paying. And so that would still constitute good debt.
Love that. I love that perspective because I think I can come up with another example, like in the case of home ownership, right? So is it good debt then that saves me money? It's good because it saves me money. Is that, let's say I'm paying rent, and of course every year the rent go up. The law says 7.5%, but you know how some of the landlords are. God bless them, but still sometimes it go up more than 7.5%. It is what it is. And then I'm paying rent, and rent is going up. If I get to the stage where I could have bought a place and paid a mortgage on that mortgage payment over time would have stayed pretty much the same, while the rent would have gone up had I stayed in the rental property. So I'm saving money by purchasing a property and paying a mortgage instead of staying in a rental situation. And that's another example of good debt that saves me money. Did I go to the head of the class, Auntie Michelle?
Yes, you went straight to the head of the class, Carrie. Straight to the head of the class. You're very bright.
Thank you. Guys, want to hear the nuggets them dropping already? You hear the nuggets? Okay. So we got good debt that makes me money, meaning somebody else is paying the debt. Either if the business, I'm taking a loan from a business and the business is churning enough to be able to pay back that loan. And thank you to the customers who are giving us the revenue to do that. right? Or in the case of, let's say, good debt that saves us money in the case of a car or a home where, had you not bought the car, all the costs you would have been paying to take public transport and all of that over time, if you had probably taken out a loan for the car, you would have been saving money. Or in the case of a house, paying a mortgage that pretty much stays stagnant, as opposed to paying rent, which tends to go up sometimes exponentially year over time. So, guys, I hope we got that. So, that's good debt that makes me money or saves me money. And those are great reasons to take out debt, right? Now, what is bad debt? And I know there's an accounting term for bad debt, right? We know what that is, guys. All of us who did accounts at CXC, O level, CSEC, whatever, right? Which is basically when a debt is no longer collectible. Somebody take out a loan and don't pay it back, which said from an accounting perspective, the debt has gone bad. But we're not talking about that. We're using the nomenclature bad debt in this discussion to mean, go over again, Auntie Michelle, and give us some examples.
So we're looking at bad debt, meaning it takes money from us. It takes money from us. And it could be because of poor planning, or it could be because it made us feel so good to get the item. So that would be bad debt. Takes my money.
Right. So I'm not making any money from it and I'm not saving any money. I am just taking out a debt. So, and I use my take out credit card debt to buy clothes and shoes that don't really add to my life, and take on debt for that, or take on debt to do certain entertainment activities at a high interest rate and I'm not really getting any value. I mean, yeah, entertainment and leisure is important, but
But
do
you
you
know
have to go into
something?
debt to do it? I guess is the question.
Right. And you know something, Carrie? I find that a lot of people don't necessarily go into debt because they are spending on quote unquote guilty pleasures. What I found is that there's some real circumstances that happen in our lives. So I met a lady in the Christmas when she was drawing my blood, and we ended up talking about money. And in the conversation, she shared that she had lost a loved one and she ended up putting those costs on her credit card. And then, of course, she couldn't pay it back, right? So it would have been poor planning. Why would it have been poor planning? Because there are things like death insurance, so it's FIP, that persons could utilize as family indemnity plan. There are life insurance policies that people could have taken advantage of, and therefore you would have gotten the money to pay for the death of your loved one, rather than having to take money, borrow money that you have yet to earn. So money that you're going to earn in the future is what you're going to be utilizing to pay on a funeral. Another example would be to take care of medical bills. When there are things like health insurance, there's also emergency funds that we ought to have in place. 3 to 6 months of our expenses ought to be saved in emergency funds. Or it may be some persons do this. I know couples who have done this before. They borrow to get married because weddings are so expensive. This is COVID time, right? And so we know that people are not having big weddings anymore. But I met a couple the other day. They were not spending in an extravagant way. And the wedding still costed $1 million because there are the rings, there's a dress, there's a venue. All these things don't change. But what could have been utilized? Could have utilized a bridal registry account at JMMB in order to help to offset those expenses. Or they could have been doing budgeting all along in order to pay little by little, or in order to save up the amount that they would have needed for the wedding. So it's a matter of proper planning in order to help us not to fall prey to taking out debt that takes our money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really an important point, Michelle, because and I mean that's why I say, guys, this is a kind of a no judgment zone in this conversation, because we're talking about money, we're talking about debt, and all of us at some point in our lives would have taken out debt for something, for some reason or another. And while we've defined bad debt as debt that kind of takes out of your pocket and really doesn't add value to your life, at the end of the day, we recognize that people do go into debt for legitimate reasons, in the sense that
Mm-hmm.
stuff happens. You have the death of a loved one, you have to pay final end of life expenses, medical emergencies, and so on. But even in those circumstances, we recognize, and you can learn from other people's experience as well, is that we recognize that all of those situations we kind of know. We know, say, we are going dead one day. If it's one thing is sure in life, is death. Not even taxes sometimes, but definitely death. And so there's an opportunity for us to plan, with insurance, family indemnity plans, etc. Or if we want to get married, some of us may never know if we're going to get married or not. Let's just keep it real, right? Things rough out a road. No, we're not going to go into that conversation. But you can make there certain decisions around, when you get married. Do you get married sooner or later? Some people go to the registrar general, make it legal now, and then maybe a year down the road they have the official thing when they've saved up enough money. I mean, it is just that you have the flexibility to make those choices. But the key thing is you want to minimize instances where you have to go into debt for reasons that really just take from your pocket and are not really adding value to your financial goals, or certainly perhaps even negatively impacting your ability to achieve your financial goals. So I think that's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. So I think we're doing well. And guys, I see the questions and the comments coming in. I love the interaction. Hey Ashley, we don't set up that meeting time yet. Man, I'm telling you. Hey Juliet, how you doing? Another Dion has joined the chat. Love it, guys. Yes, guys, drop your questions. So Michelle,
Yes.
so we've covered what is good debt, what is bad debt. We looked at some examples, right? We spoke about how to avoid bad debt, which is really through planning and making sure that we have the requisite funds and insurance plans in certain instances in place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess the next
However,
question.
there's one kind of bad debt that we really didn't go into any real
Yes,
detail
please.
with. And that's the one we buy because it made us feel so good, right? And that's the one that a lot of us fall prey to. I know I fell prey to that with my first vehicle. I wanted a vehicle to take me from point A to point B because I needed it for a job. And someone said to me, "Oh, Michelle, that vehicle is not going to show that you've mastered anything." And so, in that one statement, I went to a very expensive car, sat in it, and said, "Yes, I'm going to look so cute in this, indeed." It made me feel great. And so that's why I purchased a car. That is the truth of the matter, right? Right. Let us just talk the truth and talk it always.
Yes,
That is why
girl.
I purchased a car. And at the end of the year, when I recognized that all my money was going into the car loan, I really didn't feel so good anymore. No, that would have been because I really could not have afforded that car. Now, there are going to be some expenses that we can afford, and it makes us feel good, so we do it. And we say, okay, we're okay with that. And for some people, that's fine. But when it really becomes a problem, guys, is when it really is hurting our finances. And it's not just hurting our today, no, it's hurting our future, it's hurting our tomorrow, it's hurting all the other goals that we have in our hearts that we want to hit. So, for example, that particular car was hurting my home attainment goal big time. It was also hurting retirement, but based on my age at the time, I was not really thinking about it. Now, when I think about it, now that I'm old, I realize, ooh, it did have an impact. So let us just be aware that with bad debt, sometimes we get into it because it makes us feel ooh, so good when we're going in, right? Hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
Karen.
Yeah. And that's another point. And again, guys, a no judgment zone, because we've all been there. Michelle just wanted that awesome car because not only did it make her feel good, but she was concerned about the image that she was projecting, right? For me, my weakness sometimes can be clothes and shoes. You know what I'm saying? Does an outfit look kind of cute? I've lost about 20 pounds, so I treat myself. The thing is that, though, guys, is that a lot of this debt conversation sometimes comes down to a frank conversation with ourselves about our choices regarding the lifestyle that we live. And I know sometimes as Jamaicans, sometimes we tend to be very ostentatious because the car, if you look a certain way, and the poor gentlemen probably feel that they need to drive a certain car because the lady is not going to look on him if him car not drive a certain way, and these sorts of things. Or the ladies think they need to have a certain brand handbag and shoes and all these things. And at the end of the day, guys, it really doesn't add value. And as you say, it can get to the point, if we don't manage it, it can get to the point where where it's negatively impacting our ability to achieve our financial goals. You have this fancy car driving to attract all the girls, and you can't buy a house. You know what I mean? Or you're not able to save for retirement. All of these things that are being negatively impacted because of the choices that we're making. And I think that's where a lot of the bad debt conversation has to start, in the sense that, let's just keep it real. Do I have to drive the car I'm driving? Do I have to live where I think I want to live? Can I buy the dream house now, or should I wait, buy something small that I can afford now and buy later? Do I need that fancy dress? Do I need to take out that microfinance loan for party weekend? I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm mashing some corn with some of these places that are offering loans at 50% for parties, but at the end of the day, if it's not adding value and it's negatively impacting, for some people it may not impact them at all, and okay, fine. But if it's negatively impacting your ability to achieve your financial goals, then it's time to do a financial health check. And we're just keeping it real because we're standing for people and for people to look differently at their finances. And I think that's an awesome point. Michelle, there was another question here, and it actually came up here in the comments already from Kale, about debt consolidation, because I think the next part of the conversation is, we have some folks here, and some of them raised their hands already in the comments, because as I said, guys, no judgment. We're not shaming, we're not shame, we're not call up. We're keeping it real. The question is, how do we know debt consolidation? How does that work? Because I think the next question is, how do I get out of a cycle of bad debt if I have it? Yeah.
All right, so I'll answer the debt consolidation question first, and then look at the cycle after, if that's all right. So let's first of all understand what debt consolidation is. So we're going to the meaning of it. So debt and consolidation. Consolidation means that we're putting things together. And so what is happening is that we have several loans, and we are now trying to put them together into one loan. So you may have 5 loans and you want to make one loan out of the 5 loans. So in other words, we take out one big loan that would pay out each of these loans. That's what debt consolidation is. And there are several advantages to it. And one of them is that it should make the repayment more affordable, because the new interest rate ought to be lower than the weighted average of each of these loans that you would have had before. So you need to calculate what that weighted average interest rate is. If you can't do it, insist that your financial advisor does it before giving you the new loan, because you want to make sure that you are really saving money. And the other thing that it does is that it helps you to easier manage your debt. Many times when I speak with clients who have debts, they have 5, 6 loans. And when I ask them, okay, so where you have it? Oh, I have this over there. And oh, yes, I have that one over there. And I have that one over there. So it's several loans, and it must be very difficult to manage, because they're normally with several institutions, different repayment dates, different repayment amounts, one whole heap of confusion going on. So when you consolidate, you make it into one. Now you only have to concentrate on paying one amount. It is easy for you to know what your rate is, your loan rate is, rather than trying to calculate on 5. And you now have one repayment date to concentrate on, which means that you will not miss the payment date as easily as if you have several loans that you're juggling like that, right? And it solves some problems. It solves those problems that I would have mentioned, but there are some things that it just does not solve. So it doesn't solve the underlying problem, which is that the person is spending more than they're earning. That's one. Or 2, poor financial planning, so not budgeting. So let me give you an example. I often find that people say to me, Michelle, I save, I save. I save every single month, and then something happened, and then all of a sudden I need some money, and the money is not enough, and I clean out everything out of the account, and I still have to take a loan. And normally, when I start to ask questions, I recognize that they have some expenses that come up quarterly or probably annually that they just forgot about because they were not writing their budgets down, and or if they wrote their budgets, they'd only do monthly budgets, so they were not doing sufficient projection. Planning is important. The debt consolidation is not going to solve that for you. The other thing it doesn't solve is the psychological triggers. And with the psychological triggers, I find that rather than debt consolidation being a good solution, it is more a symptom of the problem. So let me share a story with you. Real story now. So imagine me. It is now 5 o'clock in the morning, and I hear a WhatsApp message come in. And I look, and it's a man who has WhatsApped me at this hour to say, I need to re-engineer my finances. I need a debt consolidation loan. Now, clearly, for him to send a WhatsApp message at that hour, I'd done a presentation and he had seen me on the presentation. For him to wake up and send that, it meant that he was not sleeping easy. But no, he had jumped straight to the fact that he needed debt consolidation. You see, when I spoke to him, and I delved deeper into what was happening, he was getting into debt because he was being a hero for members of his family. So he didn't want to say no. He didn't want to say no to his wife, no to his sister, no to his parents. And so what was happening is that he would always take on debt. Now, when he said to me, Mish, I need the consolidation. And I said to him, I find that most persons who want a debt consolidation loan have consolidated before, normally about 1.5 to 2 years ago. How many times have you consolidated before? And he said, yes, I've consolidated before. So I want us to be aware that we need to look at our psychological triggers, and we have some great information on our website. But here's how you can find great articles. And there's one about 7 psychological triggers. You just go and you type into Google JMMB dollars and good cents, and you'll see a lot of articles there that you can read through, and it will certainly help you. So you'll have articles that will help you with your debt problem, etc., and the psychological issues. But I just want you to know that the debt consolidation is great, but I want you to be aware that it does not solve underlying issues. We have to get to the root of the issues. And sometimes what you need to do is to have a conversation with your financial advisor and just be open with what is happening. And when you can identify what the cycle is that you're on, then you can break that cycle. But it starts with identification.
Wanna hear the powerful talk we are going inside this conversation here, folks? Wanna hear the powerful conversation? Oh man, Michelle, you just ministered a while ago, and I'm not even kidding. I mean, okay, so let's recap that, guys, because man, I'm telling you, see, Ashley, my sister, and Michelle, where can we book a session with you? Trust me, man, trust me. Okay, so here what now? And we just dropped the link to Dollars and Good Sense in the chat here on Facebook. I don't know if we can also drop it on YouTube. But so let's roll back. So debt consolidation, right, is really taking out a debt consolidation loan, and JMMB Bank does that as well, where you're really taking out one loan to pay off a few loans that you have, like maybe you have some credit card debt, a few credit cards around the place. You take out a debt consolidation loan to pay off those credit cards, leaving you with that one loan to JMMB Bank at what should be a lower interest rate than if you were to continue to pay that minimum payment perhaps on the credit cards over time. So you'll be saving money usually in instances like that. But while debt consolidation is valuable, guys, and this is the big point that Michelle was making here, is that you need to also ask yourself why and how you got in this position in the first place. And I think that's a big, big thing, because yes, there is one we spoke about, budgeting, maybe inadequate or inaccurate budgeting and expense planning, right? So again, judgment-free zone, guys. So for all of us where, yeah, we know about, we always remember the light, the water, the cell phone, the Wi-Fi bill, and we forget, you know, the Netflix subscription and the online magazine subscription, and, you know, the little time we treat ourselves, how much time we go Wendy's and Burger King for the month and pizza night, all these little expense stealers that happen that we forget, you know, the car registration and the fitness and things like that, those little things that always are there and we don't plan for them. But the other thing, which I think is an awesome point, Michelle, and thank you so much for sharing it, is looking at what are the psychological triggers, the things in our lives that trigger us getting into this cycle of consistently finding ourselves in bad debt to the point where we may even need to consolidate from time to time. Because is it that, you know, in the case of that story you gave, that individual is always trying to play hero for their family to the detriment of their own financial well-being? You know, is it that, you know, I always probably am making purchases to impress other people or to self-validate? You know, those things that again are mental, emotional triggers that cause me to make decisions that are not in the best interest of my financial health. I go into debt to do them, and then I end up in a situation that really doesn't augur well for my financial goals in the long run. And I think that's a powerful, powerful point, you know. And I think, man, oh my goodness, guys, on see Michelle, I dropped the nuggets them. Oh my goodness. So Michelle, you just gave a powerful point, and you could almost say we could have done the live right there, so but we're not done. Because girl, you're just dropping it. Question here that we had, and we know it's probably come up. If it don't come up or somebody feel too cute to ask it, so I'm going to ask it, right? If I have a big balance on my credit card or balances on a few credit cards, how should I deal with that kind of debt? Should I just bite the bullet, take all out my savings and my investments and just pay it off and then get rid of it? Or how do I deal with a situation like that? Because a lot of people are in some serious credit card debt. It is what it is. How do we treat with that sort of a situation, Mish?
All right. So the best thing to do is to have a conversation with your financial advisor about your specific situation. Okay. But I'm going to give you an answer that will be a general answer. So credit card debt is one of the most expensive debts. And it is almost always going to be higher than what you're earning on most investments. And it is definitely going to be more than what you're earning on your cash. So it is important to get rid of it. What you can do is, let's just say you have an emergency fund. An emergency fund, just reminding us, ought to be 3 to 6 months of your expenses, which means you have to do your budget to know how much you normally spend in order to know what 3 to 6 months of it would be, right? Just putting that out there. You may consider paying off your credit card with a portion of it that brings the emergency funds down to 4 months emergency funds, right? If it is that you are in a stable job. Now, let me explain why. If you totally wipe out your emergency funds in order to pay off your credit card, and an emergency happens, then what are you going to do? You're going to run right back to the credit card in order to pay again for whatever expenses now would have come up. So you're
Yeah.
back in the same situation again, and that is not ideal. And maybe you'd be in a maybe you're even in a worse situation because no, you're not working or something else has happened. Now, with regard to using everything in your emergency fund to pay it off, it also puts you in a very desperate situation. So let me give you an example of something that happened with somebody that I know. So the person was just got a redundancy payment and was without work, had a high credit, well, had credit card debt. And so what the person did is use the redundancy money and paid out everything. What that therefore meant is that there was no money for the various expenses that would come up every month. So the person was now in a tight spot again. And it would have caused a person to not be able to negotiate properly for a new job. What do I mean by that? You see, when you're desperate, guys, you will take a job that would pay you half of what you were earning before because you just need the work. And then when you go to the next job, let's say you're leaving that job and you're going to the next job, they normally ask you, what were you earning in your previous job? And then they pay you a little bit more than what that job was paying you. So what can happen is that it can take many, many years to get back to where you were. Okay? So there is a danger in just wiping out everything and leaving yourself stranded. Here is another thing that you could do instead. Let us say you are working. You can use an unsecured loan or other kind of asset to secure a loan to pay out that credit card debt. So other types of assets that you could use a car. So let us say that you have a motor vehicle and you've paid off some of the money off the motor vehicle already. So you now have what we call equity in the motor vehicle. You could now say to the loans officer, I want to use my car as the collateral for this amount of money that would pay off my credit card debt. For some people, you have homes, and a lot of people are very nervous about using their homes for these kinds of things, right? But let us say that you have a considerable amount of equity in your home. You probably bought the house at $9 million. Now the home is valued at $18 million. You now have at least $9 million equity. And what you could do is use the equity to take out or as a collateral for this new loan. It would now be spread out over a longer period of time, making it a lot more manageable for you to pay it back. So those are the things that you can do. But I would urge you to have a conversation with a financial advisor about your individual situation, and then they will advise you from there.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much, Michelle. Because there are many ways to skin the cat, and I think that's an important point. Because when we think, okay, I have this Olipa credit card, that let me just find a wad of cash, and take a wad out of my bank account and pay it off. And as you said, you don't want to liquidate everything. Backwards liquidate, but get rid of all your cash to pay off a credit card. Get caught with your pants down, especially if you haven't addressed the fundamental psychological triggers that
Mm-hmm.
are causing the behavior in the first place. As you
Mm-hmm.
said, there are home equity loan options. If you have equity in a property that you could use to get a home equity loan at a much lower interest rate than a credit card, that could be used as well. So there are many ways to skin the cat. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really just to, as you said, have the conversation with someone else. And now this is probably our number one question in the chat, and I'm gonna use it
Sorry,
from
I just want to add one thing to everything that I
sure.
said. But some persons will have a credit card balance of 200,000. You have emergency funds already, you have extra cash lying around, but you just don't want to see the money go down. No, man, just use that money and pay off the credit card. Right?
Yeah.
So that is why I'm saying it really is dependent on your individual situation. Right? But what you don't want to do is to totally eliminate your emergency funds by using everything you've got in order to pay off the credit card.
Yeah. I love that point. I love that point. Because there are some people who have the wherewithal, have the cash, and because as you say, given where interest rates of credit cards are at, I mean, Ashley gave an example of an interest rate on a credit card being in the region of say 45%. There ain't
Mm-hmm.
no nothing paying 45%. No, I mean maybe some stocks could move in some direction or whatever. But There's no traditional fixed income investments or savings account that's paying that. So if you have the wherewithal to just get it and just get rid of it, and again address the trigger so you don't find yourself in that position again, and so you can stay on track with saving and investing towards your goals. And I think that I'm totally in alignment with that recommendation,
I want to
Michelle. Then
say one little thing. Since
mhm.
Ashley mentioned the interest rate, yes, Ashley, the interest rates turn up. Okay, on average, they are about 50%, right? In Jamaica, 48, 50%. And sometimes, here's what happened. Somebody called my husband the other day offering him a credit card. And when he asked what's the rate, the person said something like 4.8%. And he said, really? For the year? And she said, no, it's for the month. So he said, and why would he quote it like that? Because everything else is quoted per annum, right? I mean, he's a sensible man, right? And he knows finances. So he was asking the question to really understand why it is that she was quoting it in that way. He knew it would not have been for the month. It would not have been for the year, right? So I'm saying it to you because when everything else is being quoted per annum, you're talking about a savings account, they quote it per annum. You're talking about an investment, they quote it per annum. If somebody now says 4 point something percent to you on a credit card, it's automatic that you say, oh, per annum. Okay? It was a monthly thing, so you have to multiply it. Okay? Please do continue, Carrie. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you. No, man, guys, we're getting some nuggets tonight. I have the most popular question for you next. And Jess, I'm going to use a one from Patrice Ricketts Brown, because she's asking probably the most popular question in the chat right now. But before we jump to that, hey, Wesley, big up. Yes, late, but still great. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, man, the work. We're working here too, so don't worry. It's all good. It's all good. And welcome everybody. Hey Andrea, yes, great information. Hey Sweet Ben, you see all my Twitter handle people with these names, man. We're going to try not to pronounce them so it sounds like a cursing bad word. Yes, Tina Michelle is dropping them, and Tina says she's picking them up. These nuggets are giving me life. All right, Tina, love it,
Thank
love it.
you.
Yeah, man, Michelle, I'll drop it. So Michelle, here's the most popular question in the chat. People want to know where them can find a financial advisor, please and thanks. Because yeah, I mean, they need everybody. We need to get it together and we need to have a conversation. So where and how, please and thanks.
I'm not saying this because I work at JMMB, okay? Not because I work at JMMB. But you know what is unique about our institution? We hire people based on their hearts and based on their suitability for their role. And so what you'll find is that the typical JMMB advisor is someone who is not only extremely knowledgeable, but extremely relatable. So they will break things down for you. And that's important thing. A lot of people get themselves into problems because they're afraid to ask this or they're afraid to ask that because I'm wonder the person will look at them funny. No, we don't stay like that in this company. So here is how you're going to find an excellent financial advisor. You are going to dial 998 JMMB. So 998 JMMB, which is 998-5662. And share which branch is the branch closest to you. Or you tell them where you live and they will say, okay, this is a branch. And then describe the kind of financial advisor that you're looking for. And that client care officer is going to match you perfectly with somebody who's going to take excellent care of you. And if you don't like the service, yes, you can say, I want to talk to Michelle Sinclair-Doyley, right? And complain. Okay? And because I don't want everybody calling me, I'm not gonna go recommending, right? But honestly, guys, we really do have some excellent financial advisors. And what I like is that, as I said, we hire people based on their hearts.
I love that. Thank you so much, Michelle. And yes, I'm not saying that because I'm head of marketing for JMMB. But no, I mean, it's true. People can call that number. You get our client care or call center to make an appointment to go into the branch nearest you and have the conversation. We have 2 branches in Kingston. We have Horton, we have Knutsford, we have Portmore, Maypen, Mandeville, Santa Cruz, Montego Bay, Junction, St. Elizabeth, and Ocho Rios. So at some point you must can find somewhere just closest to you to have make an appointment before you go and have the conversation. It's well worth an investment of your time, basically, because it's your financial future. And we make time to do all kind of something. We can make time to go and sit down and have a nice financial conversation, a planning conversation with an advisor. Thank
And
you
even
so
though you know
much.
the person is worth their salt, the person should be able to not just tell you what to do, but why. Okay? An excellent
Yes.
financial advisor can tell you the why behind the
Love
what.
that. Love that. Thank you so much, Michelle. And, we're going to continue with the questions, guys. So please, we have enough people in the chats dropping some nuggets as well and supporting each other. I see the conversation going. Love it. Question here from Kareen Patterson. Hey, Kareen. Kareen wants to know if she can do a debt consolidation loan, even if she's not currently a member of JMMB or a client of JMMB.
Of course. Girl, come on, become a part of the family, right? That's how you become a part of the family, no problem. You do not have to have any prior experience with us, any prior relationship with us. All you have to have is a need, and we will supply the need. You have a problem, we find an appropriate solution. Come on down, of course.
Love that. See, there you go, Kareen. So come on down. Yeah, you don't need to be an existing client to apply for a debt consolidation loan. In fact, that could be the route by which you become a client and join the family. So there you go. All right. Next question from Irene Walter. I don't know, Irene, if I'm pronouncing it properly, but hey, welcome. Thanks for your question. Irene is asking if there is a payment due annually. So there are some things that we probably pay once a year. Like, just thinking quickly, there are some things that you have options to pay multiple times a year. So you have to be careful. But some people pay like for the car registration once a year, because nobody really want to rush to join the tax office line more than once a year. Anyway, then you have the fitness. Some people do the insurance once a year, but there's some annual costs. And her question is great. How does she best prepare for that annual payment? Because sometimes it kind of catches us off guard with our pants down, right?
Irene, what a sensible question. Thank you for that question. So what you want to do is figure out how much it is going to cost you. And then, let us say if it is an annual expense, you're going to divide it by 12. And then you're going to put it in an account earmarked for that expense. So every single month, you set up a standing order once, and every month money goes over into that account. So let us say, for example, you have your car insurance to be paid, and it costs $120,000. You break it down, divide it by 12, that's $10,000 for the month. You open an account and you call expenses. And every month the $10,000 goes into that car expense account. So when it is now time for the car insurance to be paid, you have the money, you just take it out. Yeah, just like that. Or if it is an expense that you pay every quarter, then you want to break it down, right? And you divide it by 3 to make a monthly provision for it. And that is the key. We need to make a monthly provision for the expenses that come up every now and again or once a year.
I love that. And you know what that does too? It makes it seem more attainable as well. So let's say I have an annual payment that I have to find $48,000 every year for something. If I can break that up by putting aside $4,000 every month, that could probably feel a little easier to do than to find all of $48,000 one time.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. And before we take our next question, guys, we have to big up some folks in the chat. All the late but still great people. Yes, Irene says, thank you, Michelle. CM on YouTube. Yeah, man, you're at work, but hey, we're on the night shift too. See, we are doing the night shift here, right? It's all good. It's all good. Hey, Leonora, welcome. Marine, what's happening? What's happening? Pat, love it, everybody. Juliet, everybody supporting each other. Orville says he needs 500 million. Me first, Orville. Me first.
That sounds as though it is a business loan. It's a corporate loan.
Yeah,
Conversation.
Or give me the winning lotto ticket, something, but I don't know. That sounds like a hell of a number. Love that. Love that. Yes, guys, please keep the questions coming. All right. So we have another question from Catherine. And I love these real questions, Michelle, because yeah, as I said, this is a no judgment zone. A lot of folks are struggling, So earlier we spoke about the importance of having an emergency fund, right, in place to deal with eventualities.
Mhm.
And an emergency fund is, as you had said, anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses, not necessarily your income, your expenses put aside so that in case of anything, you have a little cushion of about 3 to 6 months of funds saved to cover your expenses to continue to live until you get back on your feet again. And I think Catherine's question is so authentic, it's so real in the sense that she's saying, look, if you're stuck in a job that consumes you, it doesn't have a lot of income. Women must get emergency fund savings from. Are you crazy? Michelle, what do we say to folks who are in that situation? And thanks for your question, Catherine, because even if it's not your situation, you're asking for somebody else. And I
Mhm.
think that's awesome.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Catherine. So, Catherine, I'm just going to level with you, right? There's only two ways of balancing an equation. It's either that we're going to earn more money and or we're going to save more money by not spending as much. There's no other way to balance an equation. And I had to admit that to myself too when some long time ago I was having a difficulty saving towards an emergency fund. And I'll put it this way, if your 9 to 5 is not sufficient for your expenses, then it has to be that you add on a 5 to 9. Yeah, if a 9 to 5 is not sufficient, you have to add on a 5 to 9. That's the only way. And I figure that you're going to be saying, okay, and what am I going to do? So here's how you're going to find this 5 to 9. Look at the things that people keep on asking you to do for free, or they keep on saying, hey, you're really good at that, Catherine. And that is going to be a clue as to what it is that you can be doing. So it may be that you bake well. It may be that you do hair well. I remember, Harry, do you remember there was this lady at the Goal Getter? Um, it was the Elevate. It was Elevate.
Elevate. Yes.
And she sat in the audience and said, I don't have any talent. I don't have any talent. And I asked her to come up on the stage. And I asked persons to look at her and what is the first thing that they would notice about her. And everybody said, she's so fashionable. And somebody said, she could have buy clothes to and dress me. And I said, there we go. There we go. Right? So the thing is that very often the thing that we are so good at. Oh, by the way, and she recognized that she would have enjoyed buying clothes for people, helping them to put things together, to present themselves in the best way. So she had a particular talent and she was actually doing it for other people, but she had never considered it. But here was a whole room full of people that could say to her, girl, you've got something special going on. So look for those things that people keep on asking you to do for free. That is what I know had to tap into. And that is what allowed me to save my emergency funds. And Catherine, I'm telling you the truth now, right? I started off with one day's emergency fund and I was rejoicing when I reached the one day. And then I reached the 2 days and then a week and then 2 weeks. But what I was doing is I was watching the money grow because it was in a separate account. So I could now easily see the growth that was taking place. So did I do it all in one go? Absolutely not. But the important thing is, you know that we say every mickle make a muckle? Your muckle is coming, but you have to put down the mickle.
Love that. Love that. Thanks, Michelle. And yes, Ashley said it too. Every mickle make a muckle. And as a matter of fact, Ryan had said it before he even spouted the words, Ryan, right after Ashley saying, find a second income or a side hustle. And I mean, that's the reality of it. I think probably Jamaicans have so many side hustles, I find. And even from big CEOs, because I get a chance to interact with people from all walks of life. And I interact with big bank executives to the average Joe on the street. who has a side hustle. It's like everybody have a side hustle, whether they have a little business, a little side business, or them have another motor vehicle that they rent out, and earn income off of that. Some people Airbnb, some people rent a room in their house to students as a little extra income, or somebody who, not from Kingston and need to find somewhere to live, can't afford a big expensive place. As you said, baking, sewing, teaching on the side. Some people are great with math, great with kids. Look how much people need help with maths. And you can teach little maths on the side, teach English, things like that. It's just the sky's the limit. And it's really about how do you tap into what skills you can get. Again, big up, big up, big up to Catherine for that question. And Michelle, can I just jump into another question? And I think this probably could help, because as people are talking about they're in a low paying job, and yeah, side hustle is an option, some people may want to consider upskilling themselves to perhaps get a better job. So they would probably want to do additional tertiary education, or some people never got a chance to complete college. Maybe the finances were low. And we see a lot of education loans being advertised. I know JMMB has as well. Is an education loan considered good debt as well, or sort of good? I mean, no,
I would say it
like,
depends,
again, we're keeping it real.
I would say it depends. And here's what it depends on. It
Yeah.
depends on the course and whether you're really going to apply the learning to earn you additional money. So some persons do courses and it really is just for self-actualization. So let's just call it what it is. And so it would be, ooh, it makes me feel so good. Other persons would be doing courses that truly gives them additional skills and they intend to utilize the skills. I have seen persons that have gone on courses that could have given them additional skills and they still have done nothing with it. So here's how you're going to know it. It needs to give you a return off your investment and on your investment. And so it really is up to you. So two persons can do the same course, and for one person, the person took out the loan and it was really, 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 really good debt. Right? And another person, no, because the person does nothing with it. So it really depends on you. It depends on the course, and it depends on you.
Yeah. So the first thing is, as you say, it depends on the course, not only cost and so on, but are you upskilling in an area that has demand, that you can find either additional employment or being able to offer, consulting services. Because so like some of the popular things right now are things like maybe graphic design or digital marketing, anything techie, not everybody big on the tech. So if you can get a tech skill, perhaps that you could, offer as freelance services, that could be a great investment. But as you say, if you're not using the opportunity to make sure that you're leveraging these skills that you have acquired to earn that extra money, then you would have taken out the loan and done all of that in vain, and it would have been stuff that just came out of your pocket. Hey, Una, love this conversation or what?
No,
I just love it.
I want to touch on something though with the education loan. If you're really going to be utilizing the money wisely, in terms of you're really going to utilize the skill after. Some persons say, boy, I don't want to take the education loan because it's going to be expensive. I'd rather save towards it and stuff. And you may spend 5 years trying to save the money. In the meantime, you're stuck in the same job or in the same amount of money. You're no further ahead. Whereas if you had taken out the loan, you could have completed the course. Let's say the course was a 2-year course. You'd have completed the course already. You would have started earning from the course in at least year 2, right? If you would have been utilizing it on your own. It could be before that, because many times when you're learning new skills, you would start utilizing that skill from before. So in the second example, in example B, the person would have taken out the loan, yes, and yes, they're paying back interest, but they would have earned an additional income or higher income a lot sooner than the person who is slavishly trying to save up all the money to get to this particular goal. 5 years later, they're still stuck in the same place. And then, let's say the course is a 2-year course, then it is an additional 2 years before they start earning from the course. So that's 7 years that would have gone by. So very often, if it is that you're really going to utilize what you're learning to earn additional money for you, you're really going to put it into practice, then taking the education loan makes a lot more sense than trying to save towards it for several years. If it's going to take you so long to save towards it, just take out the loan.
Yeah, I love that context. Love that context. How quickly can you turn it around and start seeing that return if you just take the plunge, take out the loan now, instead of saving, and then sometimes by the time you get the thing, it's probably redundant at that point. It don't make no sense. So yeah, I love that perspective. Thank you so much, Michelle. We have another great question here from Dion. And yeah, there are people like this. Hey Dion, thanks for your question from YouTube. What about people, Michelle, who say, me no owe a soul and me no want borrow no money even for good debt? For example, if they're building something, they would rather build piece up, build a room today, a room next year, another room, put in the toilet 6 months later, rather than get a mortgage to repay. What's your thinking around that approach?
Different strokes for different folks. However, I like to look at the dollars and cents of it all. And if you're going to take a considerable amount of time to build that property piece by piece by piece, you can find that inflation could have driven up the overall cost of the property. So very often persons are looking at, okay, so this is how much I'm going to be spending this month and how much I'm spending the next month. But if you would have taken out the loan, let us say you took out the loan today versus taking out the loan versus complete, and let me start over. You take out the loan today and the loan is for $20 million versus you trying to know, put a little bit all the time, right? It's going to take you several years for you to therefore have invested $20 million in that property. It's whole heap of years that. But what happens even worse is that because the prices are increasing, then you end up more than likely spending probably 40 million and you take your whole life. Whereas if you had purchased a property with the loan, you would have stopped the inflationary increase that would have happened on the price of the material and the everything. And you would have been able to still budget out how much money you would have been spending every single month. So it would have meant that you could end up paying less for the property. Now, some persons are going to say, yes, Michelle, but there's interest that you would pay. Yes, there is. However, let me see if I can explain it in this way. You tend to pay a fixed amount for mortgage, unless the mortgage rate is one that is variable. It tends to be a fixed amount. So even if you're paying $100,000 on a mortgage, no. And in 20 years, you're paying $100,000 on the mortgage. The $100,000 in the next 20 years is not worth $100,000 today. So although when you add up everything and you say, wow, the interest is so much and this is the amount I end up paying for the property, not really. Because if you then brought all of those funds back to today's value, you realize that you have not really spent a considerable amount of money in today's real money. Whereas when you are now trying little bit, this month you spend 100,000, the next month you spend 150, the next month you spend another amount, and you're going, and you're not seeing the property finish. Very often people become very frustrated. So when it comes down to a large purchase, I would say utilize the loan. What you want to make sure of is that you're making a good debt decision. So it's going to be debt that is going to be putting money in your pocket, or it's going to be saving you. And in that situation, it's going to be saving you having increased costs going on and on and on into the future. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, Dion, because Michelle, I'm actually thinking. So without calling any names, and I don't have the facts of the situation, so I'm not going to call a name. But there is a local businessman who allegedly built a shopping center, a plaza with no debt.
Mm-hmm.
And it took him, so he made, the story is, and it is a story, we don't have the facts, but I'm going to use a story for the purpose of an example to see if I can reflect what you're sharing here. So he decides to build a plaza that he's going to open up and have different stores and charge tenants rent to pay him to occupy a space in this plaza. The story is that he built the plaza with no debt at all. So he says he has other businesses. He's going to use any residual proceeds from those businesses to build the plaza. And he takes maybe what feels like 15 years to build the plaza. I mean, people are wait on the plaza, prospective tenants are wait when the thing I got done, and him nah move because him say not taking out any debt to build this plaza. He is just going to build it piece based on whatever residual monies he would have gotten from his other businesses. And now the plaza is finished. And it's flourishing. It's not filled with tenants, probably because of COVID time too. But the plaza is there and it seems to be doing well for the stores that occupy it, right? But the question then is, if you were to look back at it, had he taken out a loan, he could have finished the plaza years earlier, got in maybe a full suite of tenants in a non-COVID time earlier, fill out the plaza, and could have been earning rental income from those tenants all these years, perhaps enough and more than to cover the loan to build the plaza and keep broader for himself. Because arguably he's now earning from the tenants, but he doesn't have a full plaza because, again, it could be COVID time, who knows. But he doesn't have a full plaza. So yes, he's getting income with no debt. But think of all the years of potential income he could have gotten that could have not only paid down a substantial portion of the debt or probably paid off by now, and at the same time, he's losing that opportunity. So I think that's kind of like a great example of sometimes looking at the difference between taking out a loan to do something that's going to make you money sooner so you can benefit from that income, and that income can pay off the debt. You don't have to really worry about it, as opposed to waiting. And then, eventually you may get there, but if you stop and think, maybe you could have lost some potential income had you really done the math.
I think that's also just interject with something too, Kerry. Because when you take out a loan, you normally get something called creditor life insurance on the loan also. So it means that the debt dies with you. So the mortgage dies with you. So let us take a situation where, let's say, he would have borrowed $100 million and he would have died. Debt could have died with him, right? The family would have had $100 million in terms of property, and they would have had $100 million in the bank. Yeah. In his case, I mean, he hasn't died, right? He hasn't died, praise God. But in his case, if he died, the family would have the $100 million worth of property and not have the $100 million worth of cash. And then here's the other thing that happens. If he didn't have cash left over, and the persons to whom he would be bequeathing the property did not have the money now to pay all the duties and stuff on such an expensive property, then they end up taking out a loan in order to pay legal fees and transfers and all of these various things. Whereas if he would have had the cash still there, they could have utilized the cash for all of those purposes too.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, Michelle, it really is about the math, because see, people are call out people name in the chat. I never call no name. Nobody never give me no story. Me just air a story, and I thought it would be a great example, but I don't know the facts. But the point is, again, it's really
who don't take out for religious reasons too. Yeah. So, I mean, there are persons like that. But if we're not talking about religious reasons, then let's do the math.
Yeah, it's just the math. As Ashley said, the rent that they can charge now relative to what rent they could have charged for the last 10 years, more than 15 years, 10 years, over time, maybe with a full plaza, as opposed to the rent they're getting now over the past year and two. Who knows? But it's really about, as you said, Michelle, really working those numbers. It's a straight mathematical answer. I love it. All right. So another question here from Ryan. Hey, Ryan. Ryan is asking, is it wise to borrow? And I'll just use this as a generalization here, Michelle. Is it wise to borrow money to invest? So like Ryan, so suppose I want to buy some JMMB preference share, 7.35% per annum preference share. Do you recommend that I borrow money to invest?
I
Generally,
remember,
not just in
Ryan,
JMMB
what you're
preference
talking
share.
about is what we call in the financial sector leverage. So you're taking out a loan in order to invest. And leverage can be very good, but it can also be very risky, right? So talking about the JMMB 7.35% preference share, if the loan rate that you would have gotten is higher than the preference share rate, then no, it would not make any sense. Right? So let us say, for example, you're going to get a loan at 9% and the JMB preference share is going to be paying you 7.35%. Then it would not make any sense. Right? Now, suppose you're going to get a loan that is going to be paying, on which you'll be paying less than that. So suppose you could get a loan that is going to be costing you 3% per annum and you're going to be making the 7.35%, then you would have to appreciate the risk that comes with it, right? But yes, it is something that could be done. For persons who want to do leverage, I would say that it's normally for persons who are more savvy investors, so you understand the risk because it's a double-edged sword. So when things are going great, oh my goodness, you see your portfolio swell up and you feel good. But you see anyhow this anyhow everything started to go south, like for example in COVID, that is when you realize if you really have the stomach for the risk. And those persons who don't have the stomach for the risk, that is when they start to say, no, I need to sell, I need to sell, I need to sell. And that is when persons actually lose money on their investments because they really didn't understand how it worked sufficiently before going into it. So can you use loans for that purpose? Absolutely, but it has to make dollars and cents.
There we go. Love that. And you see, it's going back to the maths again, guys. It's going again back to the maths. Because if you are borrowing something, and so I think the basic answer is, of course, every situation is different. But if you're borrowing something at a particular interest rate to invest in something at a lower interest rate, chances are it's probably not a good idea because you end up paying more than you're earning,
Right.
essentially. I see a comment here, which I think actually would make a great question, and I'll take it as our last question before we wrap from Orville. Orville is giving a real thought here, using proceeds, investing stocks, and then use the proceeds or the gains, I guess, realized gains to pay for your house, car, education, and so on. And I don't know if it's similar to what we were just talking about, but what do you think of that sort of thinking where, you know what, I'm just going to live off of straight proceeds from my investments. I'm not going to take out any debt. Anything that I'm going to be doing, whether it's buy a house, backyard, I'm going to try and take it straight from my investments or however long the investments can go to give me those things, because we're not going to earn that in a day. We're going to take years.
Mhm.
But what is your thinking around that approach?
All right, Arville, in order for you to do this successfully, it means that you have to have a whole heap of money in the stock market. And if you do, then it is quite possible that you can do that because you may have recognized that a particular stock has reached its has not that it has reached its maximum, but you're not expecting much more up room, right? Much more room in terms of its price appreciation. And you therefore say, you know what, I've made the gains that I'm comfortable earning, and I therefore want to take it to purchase a home, a car, etc. That's totally fine. However, you could also look at it from another perspective. If you were so good at investing in the stock market that you'd have been able to earn double digit figures annually in terms of gains. And since most loans now are single digit, then you may work out more profitably if you allow the money to stay right where it is. And instead take a loan for the home, the car, the education, etc. So it's up to
Hmm.
you. But it's how we know work it out. Again, remember when it comes down to investments, the way I like to put it is you need to divorce yourself emotionally from the decision. Work it out. Make dollars, make sense. Makes no dollars, more than likely makes no sense. Right? So work it out. Work it
Work it.
out. Or maybe it makes some sense, but not as much sense, right? So therefore, work it out. Olive. It was Orville, or right?
Love that. Love that. As you rightly say, it's everybody's situation is different. So depending on how much you have invested, maybe if you have a whole heap of investments and them dividends can cover some nice big asset acquisitions like cars and a deposit on a home, then more power to you. And Orville, if you need a
Can I tell a
sister,
story? I need to tell my own
I'm up for
story.
adoption. Yes.
Orville,
Go
Orville,
ahead.
you know, I remember I did that thing, right? Where I took money that I'd made from a stock and I bought a car with it. And then the stock went further up. Oh my goodness. I bought the stock when the stock was something like $4. And when I sold it, it was $12. And I was like, man, I'm making a killing. And at the time, I was not in a position where I felt I could have taken out a loan because of other things that were happening, right? My debt service ratio would have been high because I had mortgage and that kind of thing. And I said, okay, let me do this. Oh my goodness, would you believe that in like about a year, the stock was at $40? Oh my gosh, would you believe that the car, of course, I knew the car would have depreciated in value, right? But the car depreciates, the stock price would have appreciated. Every time I think about it, Arville, I just want to just go to my bed. Every time I think about it, because here's the thing, Arville, I said, oh my goodness, the money could have buy one whole house cash. Right? So I'm just saying, learn from my mistakes, right? If you're going to be so good at managing your stock portfolio, even if that stock you figure, I've earned what I want to earn from it, chances are you would be able to manage your stock portfolio and look at other stocks that would be able to earn more for you, right? So try that.
Wow. Guys, no, this was an awesome. Guys, first of all, we need to give Michelle a round of applause before we wrap up and I tell you what's coming up next because Michelle has dropped the nuggets tonight. I mean, or today, depending on when you're watching this. I mean, awesome. Can we get a virtual round of applause for Michelle Sinclair-Doyley? Awesome, awesome. Drop it. She deal with the financial and the psychological and the emotional and the mathematics and the English. Oh my goodness, it was wonderful. Guys, so this is JMMB Goal Getter Live. So we have some regular people in the chat, right? But I know we have some new people too. We stream live here. First of all, this conversation has been recorded. So if you missed the early part of it, don't worry about it. It has been recorded. So if you go back to our YouTube channel, JMMB Group Jamaica, or even onto our Facebook page, and I think even Twitter as well still, as I still see some Periscope folks coming through. You can watch the recording at your leisure. So break out the popcorn, get out your pen and paper. Again, whoever you wanted to watch this live couldn't join tonight. Watch it with them. Send them the link. Encourage them to watch it because, guys, we're here to support each other to reach the financial goals that we need to hit, right? So that's the first thing. And then, of course, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, JMMB Group Jamaica, like this video, click the notification bell so that every time we go live, you get your little alert. I get mine too. Get your little alert on the phone to say that we're live. Then you're gonna see more awesome content, and again, all the videos. You can also catch past episodes of JMMB Goal Getter Live. We've been covering some awesome topics over the past year, but since we restarted this season in March, April, we've been talking about stocks and pension and retirement, and oh my goodness, we've been just having some awesome conversations with some awesome people. And if you didn't catch it, watch the recording. It has just been an awesome session here tonight. And Michelle, team marketing, we thank you so much for always making yourself available with your knowledge. And next time we have you on, you're gonna have to sing for us, girl, because we don't the sweet bird voice. We have to hear the sweet singing canary. coming out of the microphone, because if then them hear you sing now, them are gonna say, okay, done. Argument done. Decision made. We Michelle is thebomb.com. So thank you so much, Michelle. We really appreciate it. Yes, Sandrika, don't worry. Late but still great. We have the recording. Catch the recording. And guys, we're back again next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Jamaica time. So check us out, of course. If you want to know what we're going to be talking about next week, you're going to have to follow us on our social media channels, JMMB Group Jamaica. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And then also when we set up the live, you'll see the notification on YouTube as well. So follow us, stay in touch. Michelle is a singer. Yes, CM. She's a beautiful singer. Oh my gosh. You know, hear her voice so nice and pretty now while she's talking. You can imagine when she starts singing. Beautiful singer. You're a pastor's wife, aren't you, Michelle?
Yes, I am.
So the stereotypical pastor's wife that leads the choir, that is Michelle in real life. Like the Whitney Houston in Preacher's Wife. She was the pastor's wife with a beautiful singing voice. So that is Michelle. So thank you so much. And thanks everybody, our viewers. Love y'all. Big up everybody. Stay safe. Wear your hands. Wear your hands. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. COVID don't done. Keep safe. And everybody walk good until next time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.